Lace gasket is one of my favorite projects. When you look at it, it seems pretty wild. There's a lot of geometry, but what one of the prime visualization tools is to break this down into its simplest form and look at the geometry. There are 20 or 12 times the holes, and each one's kind of surrounded by a circle. One of the most interesting ones I did in lecture, and I don't think I recorded a video on it. If I do, it was quite a while ago, was to treat these all as circles and then pattern it and try and go through and pick each of the contours and regions, and that was not a good process. So as we do designs and come up with different geometries, there's things that stay in the toolbox and there's things not so much. All right, so it's giving us a center. So the origin, we can do our center lines. We'll do a construction circle, and that will kind of help to line up the first geometry. And so the circle will be a good start. And then the way this breaks down is there is an arc and a tangent arc. And so far we've only done the circles. So when we are looking at an arc and a tangent arc, we'll build those pretty close. But then after we create the sketch pattern, we'll have to attach the two ends as the last piece of geometry. So the center, this is also a good exercise for treating this as solid bodies and some of the things we can do with solid bodies. So let's get into the lace gasket. So we're going to open up a new part, and it is in millimeters, so part metric. We'll go to the front plane, open up our sketch. We like center lines. We'll do vertical and infinite length, and then hit OK and go to horizontal, or the other way, but whichever. And then I need a circle. And I like for the patterns, whichever way it goes, I like the base circle, and we go ahead and create construction geometry. All right, so there's no circle construction, no center line circle, whatever we would call it. We just draw this circle and then we do a conversion. Now, the thing with the center lines and the construction lines is they do not participate in creating geometry. They are scaffolding, they are skeletons, they're structure for us to build on. So if it helps you visualize, put in some center lines and have that act as your base. All right, so the circle is 160 millimeters, and that will scale us up. Then going into the circle, I'm looking for the quadrants. That's a little easier because where the center line intersects the circle is also going to be a point. So we're getting coincident and we're getting vertical to the origin. And another relation that we might use is going to be, let's just draw one real quick, is if I wanted to go over here, I could select, control select, and select to make, oh, I guess I need one more. We did the select, we did a control select, now I need a control select. That's too many control selects. But anyway, make intersection would also do the same thing. So we have our process to generate the geometry and our relations. Okay, so let's go ahead and put a dimension because that will help with 12 times 20. That will help with kind of seeing the scale. And then we want to zoom up. We don't want to work in, a zoomed out 10,000 foot with, it's not super complex geometry, but we want to make sure that we can make good choices and our selections are working. So let's go with the center point arc to start. And under the arcs, you have center point, tangent, and 3-point arc. Tangent arc requires a line or an arc or a spline or some piece of geometry to attach to and be tangent. So it doesn't just come into existence on its own. So we're going to do all three. I'll do the center point arc first, and then we'll do the 3-point arc, and then come back and attach the little tail to intermediate arcs with the tangent arc. All right, so center point arc, make sure it's selected. Okay, I think I turned it off. All right, so it's in gray. It's kind of highlighted there, so it's active. If it goes back to being a regular background, then it's not active. So I'm doing the click drag, and whenever you see those dashed lines, it means it's waiting for something else. All right, and I didn't like the way the circle was going, so I just keep going around, and it picks up and it goes the other way. So that gives me my first center point. Let's see, what would be, yeah, we could do that way. So let's go with the click click. And so clicking and clicking, about the same. I do want to check if we go that way. So maybe the click click on that one is a little bit easier with the direction. So I don't know. I'll have to try that one some more. All right. So one of the relations that we don't do very often is a co-radial. And so somewhere there is a dimension, and we have the radius of 20 on the outside, and then the intermediates are radiuses of 30. So one of the things we can do with two arcs is select, control, select, and make them co-radial. Then when we apply the dimension, it's still going to be a radius, so circles are going to default to diameters, and arcs will default to a radius. Oh, it helps to place it. All right, so 20 millimeters. All right, so the first we'll go with the tangent arc. We find that endpoint and we drag. So the thing with the tangent arc, and we haven't really had cause to do the continuous arc, if we're drawing a line and you go back to the start point, it will convert to a continuous arc and allow you to create a tangent arc seamlessly in the sketch. And then when you are completing the arc, it'll go back to line. Well, when we're doing a tangent arc, this is going the correct way, but if I wanted it to go that way, I go back to the start. If I want it to go that way, that way, that way, or that way, I just keep dragging back to the start point and go with the attachment. So that gives me my tangent arc, and it's going to go continuous. So I just want to escape, and then the last arc we'll look at is the 3-point. So even if I didn't do the 3-point, I would probably do the center point, and then 2 tangent. The 3-point is interesting in that it does not apply the relations, but you can do an approximate, and then the last part of the approximate is getting the arc someplace where it looks good. So if I didn't get the tangent, or one of these didn't connect, we can do a select the arc, control select the other arc, and then we're going to make tangent. Right, and then it's going to turn out that these two are equal at 30. So we'll go ahead and apply the dimension to see what it does, and then massage it, give it a little, yeah, that doesn't look too bad. I just don't want a bunch of overextended lines. All right, so for our pattern, we know that there's going to be 12 of these, and that's going to be enough geometry to generate all of those shapes. So let's grab the 4 arcs, and we'll go into our circular sketch pattern, and we need a total of 12 items. All right, so looks pretty wild. We're going to go ahead and accept it. And then I'm going to attach the endpoints first. Select, Control Select, and go tangent. Attach the endpoint. And one of the things with the circular pattern is sometimes it knows where it's going and sometimes not. So we're going to grab that center point and bring it back to the origin. All right, and really any of these could apply the relation, so the tangent. And it's saying it's been 20 minutes. Don't think it's been that long. So if I do another, another 12 circles, or I could draw 12 circles and make them equal. If we Control Z, and this is going to be one to be careful with, notice that I have the drags, the circular sketch relations. If I undo all those, I kind of want to run through that again anyway, but if you included the circle, you wouldn't have to do this, or you could go ahead and pattern the circle as a separate 12 pattern. So if I undo to that point, again, be careful with the undos. There was a version that if you got a little carried away with the undos, it went back to like the beginning of the sketch, and the redo was not all that great. All right, so Control Select, and we want to have, in this case, all 5, because I do need that circle. And we're going to go with the circular sketch pattern. Over in the properties, pick up 12. Now the box, I'm not in the habit of doing the modify box, but we have 12 with the spacing, equal spacing of 360 degrees. So I could have just entered the value there, but I don't really think about those. I like to scan down through here and just double check that I picked all that geometry. All right, so with that in mind, I was going to look for the center point, but since it did not connect, let's go with endpoint to endpoint, select, Control Select, tangent, and didn't like something there, so let's undo. And sometimes it needs to be a little closer to tangent to start if it can't solve it. Well, let's see if we can get the other one. So this is going to be a good diagnostic exercise here in a second if it doesn't pick these up. So I don't know why it wouldn't pick the tangent. See, let's go to the other side just on the off chance it's something with that geometry. And not quite sure why it wouldn't let me do that one, but well, there we go. So the center geometry, we've done our shapes. The main thing is don't get too freaked out when all that red and yellow. Think through the process, and for some reason it didn't like that geometry. I'm going to go try another piece of geometry and trying to kind of process of elimination. Now this one did not lose the center pointer. When I tried to drag it and it said it was already fixed, it added that relation for me. All right, so the center point we don't really know. We're going to assume this is through already. Since this is a gasket and we have a thickness of 7.5 millimeters, I always like to think about maybe this is a piece of copper glued or laminated to a piece of felt or rubber or some type of plastic. So if we were to do the extrude boss base, and I can bring this forward 3 millimeters, 3.5 millimeters on that piece. I'm just going to break this up. We could do the full 7.5 and just do something else on the center would be fine. And we don't really know if that center is a positive or a negative, if it's creating a boss or a through. So we're going to assume it's through. So if you want to try something different, experiment, see what it looks like. All right, so we have the front plane, but this is a good place to introduce sharing the sketch. So I want all of this geometry to exist. Maybe not yet. We'll probably just convert. So I can go ahead and extrude that out the other way, but I need to include that other geometry. So we're going to show that sketch. And if I grab the sketch geometry and select chain, it's kind of the same as selecting loop. So let's do that instead. I'm going to hide that and show you that you can show a previous sketch and select that chain from the sketch, or select tangency or loop. So the tangency will take that all the way around. Oh, I guess it would help to get into a sketch, so we're going to do that again anyway. So on the front plane, we're going to open up a sketch. I'm going to rotate over just a little bit because I do want to see that edge. Even doesn't really matter because of projection, even though this edge is not technically in that plane, it can be projected onto that plane. So when we right click and select tangency, then there is this tool called convert entities, and convert entities is going to take that a whole edge, or if we did the select chain, it's going to take that as well. So what else would we need here? Let's go with the whole geometry, and I'm just going to keep selecting. I might have been better to select the whole face, or convert all of that geometry in one. Okay, so if I do the control select, that gives me everything. Let's do a control Z real quick. All right, so a couple different ways to approach, but we're looking to get to this geometry into the plane. So how about we convert entities? That gives me, did that give me everything on the face? Let's go ahead and hide the solid body. Ah, surprisingly it didn't. Okay, well, in that case, I would have thought selecting the face would have generated that geometry. Okay, one way or the other, we need those holes, so we're going to go back through and pick. I probably could have undone that to where I deleted those, or redo, but I don't really go for the redo that much. Come on, let me have converts. So something in the selection, I got an extra piece of geometry. Let's hide the solid body again. And now we're going to go ahead and draw our through hole at, what did they give us, a diameter of 50. And then we have another tool for the slot. So I could draw a center line and connect four, line and four arcs. But we could go into the center point straight slot, pick our geometry for the center line, and then drag out a bit and get the slot. So that has a radius of 10, and its overall length is 80. Okay, so extruding this out, we want to extrude. And since the other body is hidden, it automatically unchecks the merge result. So for our in condition, we'll go 4 millimeters blind. It doesn't do anything because I need to scroll down and select contours. And once we select the contour, then it'll generate that geometry. So once we have that shape, we can go ahead and hit OK. Show the original. And then if I wanted to have materials, we could attach materials to each of these. So maybe I said, what do we have available? Don't know why we would do brass and copper, but I don't have rubber showing up, so, or a plastic, so we'll just go that way. All right, so it's going to take on the colors. The other thing, this computer does not have the real view, but if we were to change the background, pick up the real view and the shadows and all that, we'd have some basic photo rendering. So we need to save this. Control S, P2-16, and put my initials on the end of it, and we'll save it.